اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد. خل المقادير تمضي لا تغالبها، فإن من غالب الأقدار مغلوب. إن القضاء لسيف لا يقاومه شيء من الخلق إلا وهو محبوب. وامشي رويدا مع الأقدار في مهل، فإن من يكره الأقدار متعوب. سلم وفوض لحكم الله محتسبا، فإنما الأمر مقضي ومكتوب. والله يقضي بما شاء وكيف يشاء، والعبد عبد ومخلوق ومربوب. ولم يزل ربه الرحمن يكلأه، باللطف والحفظ محفوف ومصحوب. حسن ظنونك بالرب الكريم، ولا تسيء ظنا فتبقى عنه محجوب. واعمل لنفسك أعمالا تسر بها، فكل ما يفعل الإنسان محسوب. إن كان خيرا فخير سوف يحصده، أو كان شرا فتنكيل وتعذيب. يا ويل من ضيع الأعمار في زلل، وكل من كسبه الآثام والحوب. واطلب علوما مع إقبال مع عمل، فأنت بالعلم والأعمال مطلوب. واحذر زمانك هذا إنه زمان.
testing mic test.
به المناكير شاعت والمعايب. فكن وحيدا فريدا خاملا حذرا، فإن فيه الأقاويل الأكاذيب. والظلم فاش بلا لوم ولا نكر، وللمساكين تخويف وترهيب. فكن لبيتك حلسا لا تفارقه، إلا لشيء له في الشرع تصويب. واذكر إلهك ذكرا دائما أبدا، فالذكر بالذكر مقرون ومصحوب. وذاكر الله يجالسه، فاجلس مع الله تأتيك المواهب. واطلب من الله ما تحتاج أجمعه، فالخير يا ذا لديه والمطالب. لا تسأل الله كريم الوجه خالقنا، فعنده الفضل والإحسان مسكوب. واعكف على بابه في كل ما نفس، فإن نسيانه يا صاحبي حوب. وكن أخي بحبل الله معتصما، فكل حبل سواه فهو مقطوب. واسلك على سنة الهادي تفوز، وفي أولاك ترضى وفي أخراك محبوب. ففي اتباع النبي الخير أجمعه، عليه منا صلاة ربي يدوب.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin, wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, my dear respected viewers, we begin by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are in this blessed and month of Ramadan, few days and towards any Shawwal. We pray that Allah accept any our prayers and our ibadah, our worship, and may Allah bless us with iman and taqwa and istiqamah after Ramadan. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. So inshallah we will enter into the questions that are posted. So this is the first question that we will attempt, inshallah. Question is asking, I have an inquiry. I understand that the wife does not actually need to pay for anything for the house or family in the Islamic any perspective. So each time me and my wife has an argument about things to pay for the house, she will bring this up, and it becomes a situation where it seems I'm the only one owing her all this while. This is because she will bring up all the things we have paid for equally and say that by right she does not need to pay for them at all. So it becomes a situation that I am financially indebted to her. Can you advise me if this notion is true? If yes, then it means that I will have to pay her back everything she has helped to pay for the house or family. Does this also mean that in actual fact a wife can be working and that all her salary does not need to be spent on the house or family at all, and she can use it on herself as she like? But for the husband, his salary and it has to be for the family. Just to add, I have not missed paying her nafkah since the day we are married 7 years ago. Hope to hear your advice soon. Thank you. So this question basically a husband is asking pertaining to nafkah. So the husband is saying first there are a few questions here. Question number one, and he is asking that based on his understanding that the wife is not in need to pay anything for the house or family in the Islamic perspective. So here we have to understand when we are speaking about the original ruling in terms of nafkah, yes, it is upon the husband. It is upon the husband to provide for the wife and the children in terms of housing, in terms of food and drink and clothing. So this is an obligation for the husband and towards the wife. So this is the general ruling in Islam. Tamam. So he said that each time me and my wife has an argument about things to pay for the house, she will bring this up, and it becomes a situation where it seems I am owing her all this while. This is not true. For example, if the wife help the husband willingly. So now maybe I give an example. A couple live by themselves and they have his children, for example, and husband is working and husband has been providing, and at the same time also the wife has money with her. The wife has money with her, whether she is working or she is not working. When it comes to working, later on I will touch on this. But if she is not working and she has any money with her and she spend on the family, this is out of goodwill. So the husband does not become indebted to her unless she specify at the point of paying or at the point of giving that this is based on debt that the husband has to pay back. But if the wife willingly buy things or willingly give money to the husband, for example, buy for him certain things and so on and so forth, now this is just a form of hiba. In fiqh muamalat, and we call it al hiba. This is in the form of gift. So you cannot take back what you have given. The laws of hiba says once I have given something to somebody else, that becomes his property. Tamam. I cannot retract. It is different than lending. If I lend someone money, or I lend someone some of the things, then it is compulsory to return. When it comes to loan, we have to specify. Loans does not become loan when there is no specification. And if you just give someone money, for example, and you just keep quiet, it doesn't becomes a loan unless you specify in the transaction that this is a loan. But if not, it is understood based on our culture and based on our urf that this is a form of gift being given as goodwill. طيب. So he mentioned each time I need a wife and he has an argument about things to pay for the house, you bring this up and it becomes a situation where it seems I am the one owing her all this while. So I hope and it is clear and inshallah. A loan and can only be a loan and if there it is specified and in the transaction. This is because she will bring the things, all the things and we have paid for equally, and say that by right she does not need any to pay for them at all. So the wife and will mention any the help any that she has given and all these things, and of course in Islam any this is any not something any that is encouraged any in Islam any because it becomes any the reason that our rewards any for those gifts any are not attained. In the Quran and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yani speaks any about al-man, yani al-man when a person and he gives sadaqah and then after that and he keeps on and he's saying that last time and you remember when you were poor I used to help you, I used to do this, I used to do this, I used to do this, yani bringing back any all the good things any that he has done and to the person, making any the person yani who received any those gifts any last time feel bad. So this is not any a good any character. This is not any a good any character. As Muslims any we should avoid any all these things any because it becomes any the reason we do not get any the rewards any for the help any that we give or the gifts any that we give. So it becomes a situation that I am financially any indebted any to her. Can you advise me that this notion any is true? You see, as what I mentioned any it is not any alone, point number one, and number two any she is bringing any all this back any again. This is not any something any that is encouraged any in Islam, and as what I mentioned, and it becomes any the reason that a person any got no rewards any for the help any that he or she any has given. So my advice any will be in the future any if the husband any feels this is discomforting any to him, then in the future any he has any to be careful, or in the future before anything any happens any then he has to explain any to the wife about any some any of the things any that I mentioned, and explain any to her that this is any out any of goodwill, this is any based any on help, and in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and will reward her any for the help any that she has given, or any the husband any chose any in the future not any to receive any certain any amount any of things any that can be the result any of she any asking back and all these things, or saying any that she has given any assistance and all these things. So the husband any can also any prevent in the future any from taking anything any from her, any if the husband any has the financial any capacities. But the wife any has to be has to be reminded any about some any of these things, and so she do not anything any that this is any alone, or she do not any always any use any this notion any of asking back and all these things. So she has any to know about any some any of these things and how any it can make any the rewards any go off. So this is any part any of what any we can do when comes any to advising any the wife. So it becomes then he mentioned, can you advise me on this notion and if it's true? So the thing is, it is not true. Yani it is not true that whatever any your wife any gives you, that it necessarily becomes any loan unless any she specifies as what any I mentioned. Does that means I have to pay back everything she has helped? No, there's no need any for you any to pay back. Tamam. Does this also mean that in actual fact if a wife any can be working and that all her salary does not need to be spent any on the house any or family any at all, and she can use it on herself as she likes? Taib, ya Jama'ah. Now this is any important, especially any for Singaporeans, because Singaporeans couples any usually the husband any is working, the wife any is working. The husband any is paying and the wife is also any paying. So in this any situation, yani if the wife any says any for example it is not any obligatory any upon me any to pay anything because nafkah any is based any on the husband, we say this is true. Tamam. When comes any to nafkah, it is upon any the husband, but the husband can make a condition that if she permits any the wife any to work, then the wife any contribute a certain any amount any to the household. This is a condition any that can be done. If the wife any chose not any to accept any this condition, then the husband yani can tell any the wife any to stop any working, because working any for wives requires any permission any from the husband. If the husband any wants any the wife any not to work, the wife any not to work. But if the wife any is working, now there it comes any disagreement. So what you call it, couples any living in Singapore any especially, yani we have any to understand this. When your husband any gives you any the permission any to go to work, when the husband any gives you a permission any to go to work, now this is any based any on he's wanting any to assist on certain things any for the wife any, so that any the wife any can also have money for herself and so on and so forth. But at the same time, and you have to understand, and the husband and he can stop the wife any from working, and the husband and he can put a condition. If she permits any the wife any working, she contributes any a certain amount and so on and so forth. So if the wife any agrees, then it is permissible any for the husband yani to take any part any of the wife any is given to help him any in paying any for the expenses. So let me give you any a simple any example, like there's a lot of situations in Singapore like this, where the husband the salary any is not high, the wife salary any is not high, and both of them has to work. And if the husband any work any by himself, then it will not any be enough. So in this any situation, any the wife any got no choice. For example, the wife is saying that if I do not help any my husband, then it's very any difficult. For example, they have many children, like 4 children or 5 children. They have to send any children any to school. Now expenses any are high, and likewise rental. For example, if they are renting a flat, or they are buying any, even any they have to pay the monthly any installment. So what is any important, what I always any emphasize any is that there must be an agreement any between the husband and wife. There must be any agreement. So the husband any tells anyway, look, our situation any is different. What you call it, I do not have any the capacity any to provide any nafkah by myself. So now I'm permitting you any to work, so that any you can help us any in the expenses. So at the end any of the day, what we want is to sustain any the family. So the wife any has to understand this importance, and not any always any telling any the husband that he is any it is the obligation that he has to provide any no matter what. Yes, no matter what, and if the husband and if the wife any agrees, if she is not working, the husband and he provides any nafkah with whatever any that he has, any whether it is a lot any or little. So what is important any is there must be in English any what do we call cooperation and between the husband and the wife. There must be a high level any of understanding, especially any for couples any living in this situation where they do not find enough to sustain. For example, if one partner any is working, so they are in need and both any are working, so both of them any must have any an understanding, and they must any understand any the situation. They must understand any each other. They should not any hide any from each other, and they must any work any towards any goodness, any towards benefits any for the children, for the husband, for the wife. So this is a sacrifice that all of us any has to do, and especially any those any who are any in that particular situation. So that is a situation where both husband and wife any needs to work. So the wife any cannot complain any in that situation that the husband any does not provide any certain amount of money any to me and so on, because the husband any has no any capacity. So what is important any is the understanding any between them. Another situation any can be that the husband, mashallah, yani has any all any the means any to sustain any for the family, and the wife any no need any for the wife any to work. So in this any situation, in as what I mentioned, that the husband any can grant any permission any for the wife any to work, or the husband any can tell any the wife any not to work, or if the wife any wants any to work, any the husband can put a condition that what you call it, she has any what you call it to give any certain amount of money and so on and so forth. So that condition any can be any agreed any upon any by any both parties. So going back into the question here, I take any some time any to answer any these things, any because this many of these things any are occurring in our society. So I hope my explanations any help any, inshallah. Does this also mean that in actual fact a wife can be working and that all her salary does not need to be spent on the house or family at all? Not necessary. Now we are speaking about a different situation. We are speaking any about a wife any who is working. So in the first place, the permission comes any from the husband. The permission comes up. But if the wife any tells the husband, I need to work, and if I'm working, my salary all belongs to me, and I will not provide anything for the family and so on. So now the time for working, the time given to the work is minus the time given for the tarbiyah of the children, or for the household of the husband. So in that sense, the husband can put this condition. The husband is saying that if you want to work, and you just want to keep the money for yourself, and despite I'm in this situation, and for example I will have difficulty if you go to work and nobody to take care of the children, and we have to send them for what you call it, for the care, the daily care, for example, and this I have to come out any money because you are working. The husband say, I will not let you work. I do not give permission to you to work. But if you choose to work, then certain things you need to pay. For example, the child who they place in the nursery, for example, or certain things that the husband put in this condition. So this can be done. So again, it is not about a wife can choose whether she wants to work or she does not want to work, and whether the salary is all hers. So the husband has to understand this. The husband has to understand that the privilege of working for the wife comes under the permission of the husband, and the husband can stop the wife from working. There is a situation last time where this exact situation, where the wife is telling the husband that it is your responsibility to do this, your responsibility to do this, your responsibility to provide me with nafkah, to provide me with this and this and that, and the wife is working. So the husband say, okay, I will provide you with all these things, and I want you to stop working. I want you to stop working, because the husband feels that what you call it, the wife is not fulfilling her duties fully as a wife, by having all these hours outside without the husband, and at the same time also speaking about nafkah and all these things. So the husband also has the right to stop the wife from working. So at the end of the day, what is important again, it is about having agreement and understanding between husband and wife. This can solve a lot of the problems that we are what you call it, that we are facing. Does this also mean that a wife can be working, that all salary does not need to be spent on her husband and all, and she can use it on herself as she like? This is not true. This is not true. But for the husband, his salary has to be for the family and the house. So generally, as what I mentioned in the first part of my answer, generally the obligation is upon the husband. His salary has to be from the family. Just to add, I have not missed paying her nafkah since the day we married 7 years ago. So my advice for the one who asking the question, and you are doing a good job, what you call it, there is nothing wrong, because you are providing for your family and so on. It's just that your wife likes to retract some of the payments that she does. So there are certain things that you need to explain to your wife, and so that she understand. Assalamu alaikum, Ustaz. Let me just do some adjustments. This question is asking, Assalamualaikum Ustaz, Waalaikum Assalam. May I ask what are my sisters and my responsibilities as married daughters towards our aged parents who are not living under the same roof? So maybe I will answer this first question, and it's a bit lengthy. When it comes to nafkah towards the parents, it is compulsory upon the children. It is compulsory upon the children to provide nafkah for aged parents, parents who are unable to work. So when it comes to children, there is no difference between daughters and sons. So now the situation is there are three daughters, with no male siblings. So the question asks, do the three daughters have to provide for the aged parents? Yes, they have to provide. So they can come into an agreement. So how much per person to to provide the nafkah for the aged parents, but of course with the condition that they have the capacity to do so. They have the capacity to do so. They have the money, for example. They have the money for themselves, and then they have extra This extra now becomes an obligation for them to provide for for their parents. Tamam. So we will read again, and we will read the rest of the question. First of all, any question is asking, my parents do not have any sons, only 3 daughters. My first sister married off and stayed overseas. My second sister and her husband do not. Pertaining and staying overseas doesn't mean that if a person is still overseas, that he or she is free from the obligation, because now you can do bank transfer and all these things. So nowadays it is easier. Last time may be difficult. Last time in the olden days 200 years ago, 300 years ago, where you don't have all these bank transfers and vehicles and all these things. But nowadays any situation is totally different. We communicate through WhatsApp every day with someone who lives maybe 2,000 miles away. My second sister and her husband do not want to have anything to do with their parents. That is haram. Children cannot say that I got nothing to do with my parents. This is a sin. A person who lives in sin, and remember this, a person who lives in sin, if she or he makes the intention that she wants to do not have any connection with the parents, and this is one of the worst sin, because cutting off severing ties with the parents is the worst situation when it comes to severing ties. My sister and her husband do not want anything to do with my parents anymore after they got married. What are my responsibility towards my parents, as I now have my own family? So it is your responsibility to provide for your parents. So find out what do they need, what is their situation, and how their needs can be taken care of. Tamam. And then think about how you need to provide for them, you and your sister. Since my parents don't have a son, what are my husband's responsibility towards my parents as son-in-law? Your husband do not have any obligation towards your parents, but you as the daughter you have any obligation towards your parents. But the husband can give out of goodwill. Your husband can give your parents out of goodwill, but not as an obligation. If we cannot make any compulsory upon the husband to provide for your parents, but he will be rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if he does that, and he sees there is nobody taking care of the parents, any daughters do not have the money, and so on and so forth. So the husband will be rewarded, and this is one of the greatest rewards of sadaqah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless a person and Allah will give barakah, and this is encouraged in Islam. Since my parents don't have a son, what are my husband's responsibilities towards my parents as son-in-law? Are the responsibilities similar to a son? No, it's not the same. Husband responsibility, there's no responsibility husband towards the father-in-law in terms of nafkah. Will my husband and I be punishable if I as a daughter and my husband and son-in-law refuse to look after my parents as his parents are still around? You can be sinful, you, not your husband, if you have the ability to provide for your parents and you do not do so. But in a situation where you do not have the ability to do so, that you are living with your husband, and the house also there is the parents of the husband, and there is no space for your parents, for example, and then you are in a difficult situation and you cannot provide anything, and then both of your sisters for example also do not want to provide for your parents. So at the least what you need to do is to seek help from others. Seek help from others on how you need to provide for your parents. So if you are in that situation and you seek help and you do what your best you can, you are not sinful. But who are the ones who are sinful? And the ones who are sinful are the ones who doesn't take any concern. Doesn't take any concern. They will bear the sin of severing any ties with the parents, and also not providing for the parents when they have the capacity to do so, and not having the concern at all. Wallahu a'lam bis-shawab. Rabbana taqabbal du'ana innaka antas sami'ul 'alim wa tub 'alaina innaka antat tawwabur rahim. Wa akhtim bis-salihati a'malana wa ajrana ya Allah ya karim. Fadli subhana rabbika bil 'izzati 'amma yasifun. Wa salamun 'alal mursalin.